The Gemara in the Talmud in Nida, page 17, brings in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It says, Hamisha devarim hen, sha'oseh otam mitchayev benafsho. There are 5 things which if a person does them, he brings upon himself danger. That's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was greater than Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, was able to tell us what things are not safe to do. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, someone who eats, ha'ochel shum kaluf, someone who eats garlic which is left peeled overnight, batzal kaluf, an onion which is peeled, beitzah klufa, an egg which is peeled, and then he says, hashotem mashkin, you drink drinks which are mazug already, ready for drinking, you leave it overnight, and someone who sleeps in a beta kvarot, in a cemetery, someone who cuts his nails and throws it to the street, that means people can go over it and step on it. So these 5 things, one who does it is mitchayev benafsho. There's a sakana, there's danger involved here. So what we want to discuss today are the first 3 things. So one who eats shum kaluf, garlic, egg, or onions which are left unpeeled overnight, those are considered damo berosho. It is a danger in having these things. The Ben Ish Chai writes in his Pirush in Ben Yayada, he says, Hamisha dvarim hen. This is not relevant to what the Tosfot spoke about, that nowadays there's no hashash of zugot, or no hashash of ruach ra in the sense, to a certain degree. This is something which remains forever, as it says, hen, behavayatam yehu. There should be forever like that, this restriction. So, you may question that the Shulchan Aruch doesn't bring this. So the Pri Chadash explains in his introduction to Siman Kuftet Zayin, not everything the Shulchan Aruch could bring you. There are many things all over the Talmud which tells you it's dangerous to do. Had the Shulchan Aruch brought all of this together, probably would have added on loads of sa'ifim and would keep... He gave just samples of things which you're restricted from doing. But really, the rest you must search and look in the Talmud. The Pri Chadash did us a kind favor, and he gathered from the whole of the Talmud in different places of things which the Chachamim have agreed that there's danger on doing this. One of the things the Pri Chadash brings, the Holy Pri Chadash, Rabbi Chizkiyahu Disilo, he brings this Gemara Talmud in Nida, and he says people should be particular not to have garlic, onions and eggs which are left without the outer peel overnight. Now, peeled means it's completely without peel. If some of the peel is left, or the root where it's joining, for instance, the garlic has got a little bottom to it, and it's not being cut. So sometimes you can have a garlic peeled, but you got to the bottom still, the dry part, which is still attached to the bottom. So that would not be considered as fully peeled, and you could be lenient to leave it overnight. That's why many sell these garlics which are already peeled, which they don't cut the bottom. But if you cut the bottom and it's ready for use, then you shouldn't eat them if they're left overnight. That's the halacha that we follow. The custom and practice which we follow is that if they are left overnight, we don't eat them. We don't risk. There's no real need to risk something which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai told us to be particular on it. Same thing will apply to an egg. Same thing to an onion. If you take the outer peel and you remove it, then you should not have. So what you do is you have an onion, you're not having a full onion, cut it in half, leave the half with the skin on, with the peel on, or with part of the peel on, and then use whatever you need to use so that you will not transgress what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has told us to do it. Now, there is a further leniency in this situation is if you will mix the egg, the onion, the garlic with another ingredient. I'm not talking about salt and pepper. I'm talking about significant mixture. I.e., you'll put it into a liquid, you put it into with other food, with like you take an egg, you mix it with mayonnaise. You take a garlic and you'll mix it with fruit juices or so such things. When the food is not on its own and it's mixed with something else, then I think it's a smak, the Sefer Mitzvot Katan, who brings that wouldn't be included in the restriction of having a garlic which is left peeled, because it's mixed with something else. So therefore, that's what people should generally do when they're crushing garlic and they want to keep it. Mix it with another ingredient, and you'll be able to keep it even on. Now this applies, and it's from the Talmud, even if you've covered the garlic with a fresh covering, you cling filmed it, you foiled it, even if it's covered and it's in the fridge, there's still ruach ra'ah, which the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says not to have. It's clearly, this is Dina de Gemara. Yeah, the Gemara says quite clear that even if you've covered it with something else, you cannot, yafilu mitzayre v'hatme, even if it's sealed, you still cannot have it if it was left peeled overnight. So that's it. Now, that settles it, which people might question the Shulchan Aruch doesn't mention this. That's not a proof. Many things the Shulchan Aruch didn't mention. Like the Pri Hadash says, there's a lot to be gathered from the whole of the Talmud. But we have our Talmud, which that's the source of all halacha and practices which we have. And if the Talmud brings it as a clear, undisputed seems to be, we tend to take it on and preserve this halacha of not having these three things which are left uncovered overnight.